Ladies and gentlemen, so earlier today we received a game balance update from the creative director of Marvel Strike Force, talking about some of the changes that are potentially coming over the next couple of months to Marvel Strike Force and the characters. So within this, there's some stuff on character nerfs, there's some stuff on potential character buffs, and also potentially some more information on Nick Fury as well, and the release of that character. So I think there's some good and bad stuff, but I also think this is very much worth talking about as well, because character balance in a game like this is always a very tricky thing to do. So we're gonna go over this announcement and, you know, give my thoughts and opinions on some of the stuff. So hello commanders, we have some exciting balance changes on the horizon, and we want to make sure you have the information you need at the earliest possible moment, and that moment is now, ladies and gentlemen. So first, a little context. Our ongoing goal is balancing characters to ensure that every character in your roster has a purpose. They all should have value somewhere in the game. Some characters excel in arena mode, while others are useful in raids, Night Nurse MVP. Beyond that, there should be as many viable team builds as possible. For each mode, new game modes and features are in the works that will further highlight characters and team compositions that you may have overlooked before. We feel that if you've invested in a particular character, you shouldn't have your efforts invalidated arbitrarily. However, some things will occasionally end up out of bounds and will require reduction, commonly known as nerfs. With that in mind, let's talk about speed. So currently, characters that provide hefty quantities of speed status effects, speed up and slow, are dominating the top of the charts in arena mode. In general, we would prefer to reduce effective power as a last resort, but in the interest of a healthy environment for the balance, speed up and slow status effects need to be reined in. And I think this is something, you know, as a day one beta player of Marvel Strike Force, that I can very much agree with at the moment. Like Black Widow and Quake, that combo dominates absolutely everything in the game at the moment. It dominates raids, it dominates arena, and originally in beta, it was 30%, and when it was 30%, it was still the two best characters in the game, and then it got buffed to 50%, and then it was just a little bit ridiculous after that, and has been ever since then. But it actually was, as a fun fact, 30% kind of in the original, like, first few months of beta. So yeah, what is happening is they are contemplating a reduction in the speed up and slow status effects from 50% to 30%. We're targeting early August for this change. This won't knock every rockstar off the top of the charts, but it's a structural prerequisite for a variety of future changes. We'll look at other characters like Crossbones and Yondu in subsequent balance efforts. So essentially, what they're trying to say is that the goal in mind is to bring all characters to a similar level where they have kind of competitive utility and damage, and I think that's very much a desirable outcome for a game like this. But at the same time, in a game like Marvel Strike Force, which is a freemium mobile game where people, you know, heavily invest in getting top tier characters, it's also something that's a little bit difficult to balance as well, especially with the current state of the game, with characters like Black Widow being very difficult to farm, and then you needing a lot of gold to upgrade them, a lot of ability materials, and then a lot of gear as well. And I think that's one of potentially the areas where there might be quite a bit of resistance when it comes to this stuff, because if they're targeting Black Widow, Quake, Crossbones, and Yondu for potential changes, a lot of people, the top of their roster is completely carried by those characters at the moment, so it might put them at a bit of a comparative disadvantage. But I think one of the big problems with Marvel Strike Force at the moment, especially with the increase to level 55, is kind of the availability of gold. I feel like that's becoming a really big issue with the surplus of new characters that are being introduced, and also the availability of tier 3 ability materials, like the purple mats take ages to farm. We also do have the level 65 cap coming, so maybe in the level 65 raids they're going to be a little bit easier, but I'd really like to see like tier 3 ability materials added to stuff like the arena store, added to stuff like the blitz store. Additional tier 3 ability materials and like blitz milestones would be really good as well, because I think that's one of the you know, the problems and struggles that I really feel as an endgame player at the moment is I need to make my decisions very carefully, and I am all 100% for a meta where they are balancing all the characters to be very equal and very interesting, because I feel that that is the way that the game is going to evolve to its most interesting and competitive potential if all characters are kind of around what I would probably consider like high demigod tier or demigod tier at the moment, where they all have like their really, really interesting uses. And I don't think, you know, coming from Marvel Contest of Champions where we had certain god tier characters that just dominated the game for a while, and now the game's character balance overall for a lot of the newer characters is shifting to a much, much better level where a lot of characters bring a lot of different stuff, and there's not necessarily like, you know, free characters that absolutely dominate the game. So overall, you know, just my thoughts as a player of games like this, I think it's very, very healthy that characters are all brought to a similar power level and balanced around that, and that is definitely not the current state of the game at the moment. So yeah, that is the potential bad news there. And then we have, it's difficult to say if this change to speed will be exactly enough to provide broad viability to Arena and Blitz team builds, but it will bring characters like Quake and Black Widow into formation, so we can tune the rest of the game more fairly. We're putting this information out now so that players can decide for themselves how they would prefer to continue investing in those characters well before these changes go live. So I think even with the nerf, I still think Black Widow and Quake are going to be some of the best characters in game. Like 30% speed up and 30% slow down is still going to be an incredibly powerful mechanic, so even though they're being tuned down a little bit, I don't think it's enough to completely ruin the characters, but I'm interested to see if it's going to affect the top of Arena. I feel like the most powerful thing that Black Widow has at the moment, for anybody that plays very high tier Arena, is her stun and her bleed chain on. That is a huge part of kind of high tier Black Widow gameplay, and yeah, that's the craziest thing at the moment. So a lot of high-end Arena gameplay is kind of playing around Black Widow's stun for the most part, because that can kill like 3 characters on its own if you get very, very lucky and get some crazy bleeds on the opponent. So yeah, in terms of the viability of Quake and Black Widow, I still think they're going to stay up there. I think for Crossbones and Yondu, I can kind of see how Yondu is definitely a cut above other characters, but Crossbones, I would like to see Crossbones changed a little bit, because I feel like he's one of those characters that is a very big pain in the ass, especially when it comes to Blitz, and when you get to a certain multiplier, I feel like a good 80% of the teams are Crossbones, and if you have like a bad combo of maybe, you know, like a couple of tanks are Crossbones or some really, really heavy hitters hiding behind him, and you just can't get him dead before his explosion, I feel like that really, really screws over a lot of teams, and I feel like Crossbones, to a certain extent, is breaking a lot of potentially characters that could be good and could be viable at high tier multipliers in Blitz. So yeah, I don't know, I'm somewhat open to a Crossbones rework, because I kind of do agree that he's a very, very powerful character at the moment when fully upgraded, because that second turn explosion is just absolutely ridiculous. So I'm not really too sure what the a potential solution is there, but I'm interested to see what might come of Crossbones there. And also, in terms of buffs, ladies and gentlemen, they're also going to be speeding up some of the slower characters, such as Hulk. So hopefully characters like Hulk, Ronan, and Groot are now going to be a little bit more viable, and they can come into play, because one of the characters that has just been on my bench for so long, man, Hulk, was really, really good in the beta of the game, man. Really, really decent character, but he's just been so effective by this 50% slowdown, just absolutely so easy to control, especially with all the additional crowd control effects. The Hulk is such an irrelevant character at the moment. So yeah, there is a silver lining of this. You know, more characters may come into the relevance of the meta and be quite interesting to play. And yeah, I'd like to see kind of a much bigger rework to characters like Hulk, Ronan, and Groot, because I feel like they really, really do need it. So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens, but they also mentioned speed will still be incredibly valuable. Even a single point of speed can break a tie, often allowing a heavy hitter to deliver massive damage before their counterpart on the enemy team has a chance to act. As we move ahead, we will also be updating other characters more aggressively. This means more frequent updates to underutilized characters, more tactical options, and occasional nerfs as needed. Minion teams are getting updated to work more effectively with their leaders, such as Nick Fury leading a shield team that can give an Avengers team a run for its money. We want these changes to come as quickly enough to that you always have new options, but not so quickly that chasing a character you like feels futile, and of course each new character we release will expand your options. It's an inspiration to the team when we see people theory crafting in chat and through online forums, like they have with the recent Vision of Spider-Man updates. Those discussions have been filled with great ideas and insightful strategic thinking, and help guide us when we review characters. Thoughtful debate and strategic experimentation will always be the heart of our balanced dialogue. We look forward to seeing what kind of teams you create with these upcoming adjustments. Thanks for playing, Jason Bender. So yeah, I like, you know, I like the idea of having a lot more balanced meta. I like the idea of having every single character be relevant to the game instead of just, you know, the top 5, the top 10. So I like that vision, but it's whether or not they can pull it off and kind of deliver, you know, a fair balance between updating all these characters and trying to keep everybody fairly consistent, and also, you know, as they expand and add more characters in, adding in more resources, because that's what we really need at the moment. This level 65 cap, man, is making characters so expensive to upgrade, and yeah, tier 3 ability materials are so incredibly scarce at the moment, and gear as well would be appreciated, but I certainly do appreciate the recent events like the Rocket Raccoon Man, the Rocket Raccoon one, the Ant-Man one, the Wasp one, because I think they've been a very good pathway into increasing gear acquisition. I would like to obviously see a little bit more of that, but yeah, we're gonna have to see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. So overall, a little bit of bad, a little bit of good, but I've visited the Fox Next offices a couple of times. They've done a lot of balance updates since the beta of the game in comparison to Marvel Contest of Champions that will, like, you know, buff one crappy character like every maybe year. So yeah, I don't know. I've reasonable faith, man. I have some pretty good faith in Fox Next because they did some dank updates with the Spider-Man and Vision. So I'm very interested to see what comes in the future. And really, I just want some like crazy team combos and have a little bit more strategy and team building. Like, in terms of me enjoying Marvel Strike Force and enjoying the game and everybody enjoying the game, I think it's a lot more fun where there's a lot more variety in the game and you can do insane team combos. If you look back on the channel a couple of days ago, like, one of the most fun times I've had playing the game this entire week is doing that ridiculous Blitz team combo with Cable and Deadpool and Black Panther and then Mordo and Doctor Strange. We did some crazy setups, some crazy gameplay in there, and it was so much more fun than just the standard, you know, apply slow, speed up, stun, Captain America taunt, Crossbones explode, hand sentry hide everyone. You know, I think it's important that we have kind of this dynamic balance and characters being all at a similar power level so you can really customize and tweak and play around with teams and synergies a little bit more. So yeah, a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm very interested to see, you know, what are some of the perspectives on this in the comments below, and also what's some of the stuff that you feel like should be done. Is there any other adjustments or changes you would like to see made? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching today's game balance update recap. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to smash that like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. Apart from that, if you're not already, hit that subscribe button to the channel to get the freshest, dankest Marvel Strike Force gameplay. And aside from that, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.